Well, hey folks, thanks for tuning in. This is going to be an episode about the CB750, 1978 CB750K that I've had for 3 years, I think. As a general rundown is, I think this was the first or second one that I bought, and I bought this, and it started, it barely ran, leaked gas all over the place, and brought it home, went through it, got it mechanically restored, fixed the brakes, the forks, got it running and driving, had it registered, drove it on the road a little bit. If you look at the playlist for this video, if you go backwards in the playlist, you'll see the original videos that I did. This is the first videos that I ever did and put on the channel. It's with the cell phone. I held the cell phone the wrong way, right up and down. But I have a bunch of cell phone videos on there about me getting, starting to work on it, working on it, and then getting it running and driving it around. And then discovering the problem with the bike, it pissed oil all over the place. So I took the engine out to replace the seals, and that was like 3 years ago, and I got distracted, and the engine laid on the floor here for 2 years. So finally putting it back together, I got this bike painted, had a paint set painted up for it, and what else? Well, there's a bunch of stuff you'll see in the video. There's pieces of it all over the place right now, painting it, painting the frame and stuff. So, yes, without further words, please enjoy watching. Thanks. Okay, well, what we have here is the first bike that I made some videos with my phone, and they're the first videos that are on my channel. They don't show any work. They just show like, hey, I'm going to work on this wheel, and then I'll show it before and after. And I did the same thing with kind of like the forks. So what I do, I got it, it was running, but just barely, and it had a pretty bad oil leak. I don't think I've noticed the oil leak till I got it running. So I went through the carburetors and cleaned them, and I put new tires on it. I took the forks apart and changed the oil and polished them. At one point, they need to be repolished a little bit. There's something up with these. I've replaced these. That looks pretty ugly. I don't know. I don't want to do a full restoration on the bike. You can get carried away. I think these, yeah, so it looks pretty crappy under there. But I bought these to like cover that up. I think I will take off this battery box because it just looks awful. And I'll paint that. I have new shocks for it. This grab bar looks kind of crappy. I went upstairs and looked through my stash of CB550 fenders, and believe it or not, this one is like pretty good. I could definitely get some of that rust off of there. I have some better looking signals. I do have a complete paint set for this. I did show it in one of the update video. It's black, 2 side covers, the gas tank, and the headlight bucket. So, you know, maybe I should take those off and paint them or something. I don't know. Get some of the junk off of here. I think I have new grips for it. But the big thing was I got the engine to run. It took me a while to get it jetted, and I figured out the jetting, and it was fine. But then I noticed that it was dripping oil all over the place. And what it ended up being was an O-ring under this, in the alternator. I pulled the whole top end apart. It did look like it was leaking out of these O-rings. This is where they classically leak. Not the bottom ones, but they leak out of the, there's another O-ring that goes here. And I think that's where it's under the most pressure, is that area right there. So there's two O-rings. Yeah, here's the diagram. So there's two O-rings, O-ring on the bottom, O-ring on the top, one on each side, two oil passages. And they'll leak right there, and it was leaking there. So I pulled it apart two and a half years ago to fix the oil leak, and I hadn't put it back together. So painted the cylinder, and honed the cylinder a while ago, 2 years ago, and I have not cleaned up these pistons. So I have to clean up the pistons. Then I have new piston rings. So it's going to have new rings and gasket kit. So I'll have all new gaskets. And I bought shocks for it a while ago to go with the nice new paint. But if I'm going to replace the shocks, I do have better ones of these signals. That looks kind of crappy. And I could always paint this grab bar black. But then again, it gets grabbed. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll just leave that. Has a decent seat. I think I have two different seats. I'll take the better one. I have new, these are rusty. I have these new. As a matter of fact, I thought I brought them down, but they're still up in the attic. Okay, so anyway, so everything worked on the bike. All the signals worked, and the headlight worked, and all the little lights and everything. Brake lights. It's been registered for on and off for like 2.5 years. I've paid hundreds of dollars of insurance and have not ever really driven it much. It was registered and insured at one point. Okay, so I think this is pretty much ready to go. So what I'm going to do is clean up the pistons, get the rings, make sure the rings fit in the cylinder properly, make sure the gap is correct. The cylinders are in okay shape. I think one of them is probably sat for a while. I can see a line there. That honing didn't take it out, and I didn't want to go too bananas with honing. Anyway, so I got to clean up the pistons, and I have to gap the rings, make sure they're okay in the cylinder. If that's okay, then I'll put the new rings on the pistons. I'll put the pistons on the engine block, and then I'll put the cylinder on the engine block, and I'll do that before I put it in the bike. And so then I want to take it, so it's just the block and the cylinder. It's not all that heavy. It's not as heavy as a KZ1000 engine, I'll tell you that much. Then I'm going to take it and put it into the bike. Looks like I'll clean the bike up a little bit first. It's all dusty and dirty. Right, so then I'm going to put the engine in, and then I'll have to work on the top end. So the top end is over here. It's pretty much untouched. I want to paint it, and the bigger thing is that I want to go through the valves and clean the carbon all out of the valves and lap them, like your backyard mechanic kind of refresh. So lap the valves, new seals, and then put it back together. So I'm hoping between today and tomorrow I can get the engine back in, and by tomorrow afternoon, what time is it? It's 3. See, I get up at 3 in the morning, so I go to bed around 8 p.m. So it's already getting kind of late for me, but that's all right. I'm going to make some progress, and I'll stop talking and actually do something now. All right, well, my goal is to get these engine cases painted. This is the CB550 engine that has been sitting on my floor for 2 years. I wire wheeled it 2 years ago. I replaced a whole bunch of O-rings on it. Oil pump O-rings. It was leaking, that's why I took the engine apart. And I figured while I have it apart, I'd re-ring it and paint it, and one thing led to another, and I just sat around. So anyway, finally getting around to dealing with it. And so this is a cover, this is a cover, this is a cover, this is a cover. So I don't care about the covers, I just want to get the base of the engine, the block. All right, well, it's the next day, and the paint is dry on this. Huh. So right here there was a big run, you can hardly see anything. Right here there was a big run, it kind of dried away. Pretty impressed with this paint. I think it's good to go. Now comes the fun part. Taking all that masking off there. Alright, well, I cleaned up one of them in the vapor blaster. It's pretty good. It took out these marks. I don't think it makes any difference at all, but I definitely got rid of all the carbon. Piston's in pretty good shape, so that's number one. So take the rings off. Try not to cut my fingers up. Like that. I almost cut myself, I think. I swear that I bought piston ring pliers. I know I buy stuff and I put it around here. I don't know where the hell it is. So in gapping the rings, I put the ring in, make sure it's pretty much level by using a piston, and then you measure the gap right here. Now the wear limit is 0.028 inches or 0.7 millimeters. The gap is 0.15 millimeters. It doesn't give me a minimum gap, which I think is kind of weird. But it's not out of the wear limit, at least at that point. Maybe if I put it down further, does it open up? So that was 0.006, 0.006, this is 0.008. It's tight. So that's like, that's probably the gap right there, 0.2 millimeters. So I gotta do that on all these rings. I wish I had a minimum gap to go by, but I don't. Alright, time to start putting the rings on. So, do the oil ring first. Definitely don't want that lined up where they come together. There, okay. Okay, so that's the oil ring. And then there's two rings. The one with the no finish, the dark one, is the second ring. The silver one is the top ring. And they have a little thing that says R. There's a little letter R. Don't know what that means, but the letter always goes up. Letter or mark. Alright, that's one, so I'll do three more. Alright, so I got to put the inner pistons in first. It's got a little arrow because there's an indent for the intake and the exhaust valve. Easy part. Now I got to get the clip in, so I have all these tissues in there so that I don't drop the clip in the down in the engine. That's it. Alright, so then now we want to take the piston rings and set them opposite each other. Although a lot of people say that's BS. Because they say the rings move while it runs. Okay, so there's that. So now I gotta go do 3 more. And I gotta find these. Oh, here they are. These are, I think they help develop oil pressure. You go right here. And right here. Alright, well, putting the cylinder on, getting ready to put the cylinder on. So there are these O-rings that go at the base of each cylinder, and that keeps the splashing oil from leaking. I think the KZ1000 had the same. I'll clean up the surface a little bit, and then I'm going to put some assembly lube in the cylinders, and then I think I'm ready to go. I've got all my gaskets out here, so this is the gasket. I got to find the O-rings for these bottom parts. So I got the gasket kit open up, cylinder head gasket, cylinder base gasket, clutch cover, magneto cover, points cover. There's a billion of these little O-ring things. These are for the valves. These are for the valve guides if you take the valve guides out, which I never do. Alright, so I think these are the ones. Is that them? Ooh, that looks like them. Yeah, I think that's them. Okay. Now the question is, should I try to use a clamp, like a hose clamp, or should I try to do it with my fingers? See, these cylinders have a really good taper on them, and that should guide it. That should, compress it as you put it on there. We'll see. Okay, I think I'm ready to go. Got the gasket in place, O-rings are in place. Oh, I didn't really oil the cylinders. I should do that. Well, it's going to be a lot of this. Alright, well after 25 minutes I got 2 of them in there. I don't remember this taking that long. I did one of these CB550s and I did it in the frame and it wasn't this bad. I don't know what the hell the problem is. Alright, well I finally got it in there. It was a pain in the ass. I did have to use a hose clamp. There it is. Alright, good. Well, I didn't get the bike in, the engine in the bike, but it's 6:30 and my bedtime is in an hour and a half and I'm hungry as hell. But I made some good progress. Yeah, so that'll be it for tonight. I hit to lift the cylinder up a little bit to get the cam chain tensioner in. And that is not what the instructions say. They say you can put it in after, but I could not get it in there. There's a little slot down on the bottom of the engine that it has to go into, and you just can't get it over there. Anyway, so the cam chain tensioner, well, I'll show how it works in a second, but anyway, there's an O-ring that goes over here, and copper washer. Oops. Now does the O-ring go? Yeah, the O-ring goes out here. I was thinking, does the O-ring go inside? I didn't see a good parts diagram for it. So you can see here, if I depress the cam chain tensioner, make it so that it would have more slack, and see how it's a spring. So this keeps pressure on the cam chain. This is broken, but I'm not going to do anything about it. It turns to the right. So if I lock it down there, so the cam chain should have slack the way it is right now. That's about how I want it when I put the head together. And then there's this one that goes in the front. Turn it. Yeah, there it is. Come on, turn and don't break. Right like that. So you can see here, this is the cam gear. There's not a ton of space. Anyway. Okay, so the next thing I have to deal with is the head. This is the rocker assembly. So believe it or not, this bike ran just totally fine. So like I was saying, I want to get take the valves out and clean the carbon off. I got to clean up the surface here, and I'd rather not go and have to go blast this. These are the copper washers for the exhaust. Alright, well, I'll take those out. I was thinking I could just hit this with some brake clean and like clean off the dirt. Maybe sand the fin area, since that's the most notable. This one here, I have new caps. It would be easy to blast this. This whole area here is covered by a cover. I don't really know how you get these things out of here. We'll have to poke around a little bit. I guess you don't just push them out. Yeah, so what's notable about this is that the rocker assembly has part of the bearing surface. It's not really a bearing surface, it's just the bearing's like built into it for the cam. And this is where those, so the oil passages right here and right here, that feeds the whole head, and I believe that comes up right there or there, probably there, because I think a bolt goes in there. Or maybe once it goes in here, it feeds around the head, probably feeds the rockers. Does it come up here? You would think it would have to come up here, huh? Otherwise, how do these get oiled? Not sure. But what I do have to do is get the valves out of here, and so I can put new seals in at the very least. And then I want to lap the valves with lapping compound. So it looks like removing these rockers is actually pretty simple. You just put a bolt in 6mm bolt and you pull the shaft out like this. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Intake, exhaust. I'll try to put everything back where you find it. Very rusty. So, take one of the valves out. Get the keepers. Now back it up. So you can see the seal right here. Yeah, as expected, it's got a pretty good, good-looking seal seat there, because it ran just fine. It did not smoke. Okay, so that should be all right. All right, well, I just got to do that 7 more times. So I cleaned up the valves and the valve springs. And the rockers, the rocker arms. We coat that stuff with oil so it doesn't flash rust. Now I'm lapping the valves into the head. So these ones have been done, these exhaust valves. See how it's got that nice line around it? Hopefully you can see. Kinda has a line. It's on the inside. And you can see on the face of the valve, on the very edge. So I've done 2 and I have to do 6 more. And then I would like to get these valves back in the head and call it a night. It's 4:30. Right, so I'll show lapping one valve. So you take the lapping compound, put a little bit on the edge. It's like way too much. You hear that grinding noise there? And then if you look at the valve, there's no way to get hold of it, so this is a drill bit extender thing. I'm using this to allow me to turn the valve. And you can see there's a nice gray line around the edge. That's what I'm looking for. Alright, 5 more to go. Alright, gonna put the valves back in. Let's see, so this is number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, right. Start here with the intake. Right, yeah, so I put all the new valve seals on. Let's go ahead and coat all this stuff with oil. It'll get coated with oil once it's running. But since I just wire wheeled it, I don't want it to flash rust. Okay, well that's no good. That's no good. Alright. Let's try it again. I don't remember this being difficult. Right. One down, 7 more to go. Right, so I've decided to, I've put so much time and effort into this CB550, I'm going to do a little bit more on it than I was intending. I was going to leave the frame alone and just put the engine back in and send it. But things like the battery box was all rusty. Right, so like here's the battery box. Looks like crap. I mean, you don't see that because there's a cover over it, but I mean, I had this bike painted. I paid probably $900, $800 to have the bike painted, the tank and the side covers and the headlight bezel. And you know, so there's a little bit of rust on the frame. It's not bad actually. But I think what I'm going to do is it's almost definitely been sprayed over previously. I'm just going to strip it off. I'm going to leave the front end on it and put plastic over that. Maybe I'll take the horn off and paint the horn. I'm going to take the back tire off. The fender is almost off anyway. I took the electrical system out of it. These little things, like this is the ears that hold the engine, part of the engine mount. This is the electrical panel. This has some purpose. Oh, the clutch standoff for the clutch cable. I have a different battery box here, which I believe has been powder coated, but it's in better shape than the one I have. So I'm going to try to sandblast this. So spending some time like painting some black stuff. I have a bunch of things to do for the engine, which I'm going to paint. I'm spending all this time. I have new rear shocks to go on it. You know, it's going to have a nice new paint set. It's going to have a freshly painted engine. It's got new tires. The wheels are in good shape. The chrome, not the chrome, the fork lowers have been polished. I have to retouch them a little bit because it's been sitting around for 2 years. So I'm just going to spend a little time. I'm going to strip it down, just have the frame, and spray paint the frame gloss black or semi-gloss black real quick, and I think it'll look a lot better. So I've already taken a bunch of stuff off. I didn't film it. It is tedious filming every little thing, but it's a lot of stuff like this. So for instance, like I have these. Oh, there's a nut on the back of that. So for instance, I have these new upstairs. I have a bunch of them. So we'll just get rid of that. And yeah, I gotta take the back wheel off. And let's take the fender off, the rear fender. nut. It goes into a bolt, is on a bolt. This bolt goes into the back of this brake hub, and it is completely, the bolt is supposed to you know, be locked into place just because it fits inside the little hole that's in the back of this, and it's just spinning around. So I have no way to get it off. I'm going to try this thing. Right? Yes, I'm going to take the swing arm off. I think I'm gonna. for someone that's in a hurry and wants to get this ready to go, I think I'm just creating a lot more work for myself. But and it's 4:30 on a Saturday night. Probably just going to clean up and hit it tomorrow. I know this works. All right, so here's what's left of the CB550. You get a better look at it. So it's all stripped down. I'm going to leave the front on it, and I'm going to wash it off with brake clean, scuff it, and I'm going to spray it with like Rust-Oleum gloss black paint and call it good enough. Swing arm, frame, and then I have all these accessory parts. So some of them I'm going to blast. So for instance, yeah, like this brake lever, this brake stay, the engine brackets. This is the electronics plate. This is the battery box. There's the little chrome thingies. Yeah, I should blast these, huh? I was actually going to look and see if I had some better ones. I was going to sandblast these and paint them gloss black because the chromes had it. So I got all this stuff, and then, of course, the engine components. These can go on last, and I think I'm going to try to polish those. This has been polished before. This probably was polished at one point. I blasted that. I vapor blasted that a long time ago. But I want to get the rocker cover done, and that part, and these intakes, and these little pieces that go on the side of the rocker, and the tack thingy. Get all that done so it's I have everything I need to put the engine completely back together. And that's what I'm going to do now. Some sandblasting, I think. Beautiful day out. It's Tuesday morning. I have to go to work in about 40 minutes. All right. Okay, well, I just did some sandblasting. And I got the battery box. This had red powder coat on it. That was a pain in the neck. Electrical thing, engine mounts, clutch mount, intakes. So that stuff's ready basically to paint. I have a whole bunch of these. I think they're all beat on and rusty, but it's possible I might have two good ones. So I'll take a look and see if I have two good ones. These didn't come out very well. My plan was to paint them gloss black. I'd have to do some more work on it. Might have some chrome ones that are good. So, before I paint the rocker cover, I want to reassemble it because once it's painted, you don't really want to handle it a lot. I also have to clean up the head. It's all dirty, and that has to be painted. I think the last one I did, I painted the head and the cover and the breather cover just stacked on top of each other, and that worked out pretty good. So, put some rockers back in. Okay, so I know that the tack is on the right, so this is cylinder 4, this is cylinder 1. So 1, the exhaust is up here and the intake is here. So I think I took out the center ones first. So this would be number 2 intake, which would be this one. number 1 intake. And I'm doing that wrong, that's why it won't go in. The adjuster goes to where the cap goes. Duh. Alright, so 6 more. Okay, rocker's all put back together, all oiled up. And it's gonna go like this. Like that. And this goes like that. So, gotta clean up the head, and then it's ready to paint. So I can paint that part, that's the top end. And I paint a couple other things silver, like this oil filter cover. And then the parts for the engine are done. So do that within the next couple days. My little thing of oil I'll put away. And now I gotta do something with the frame, but I think I'll do that tomorrow. Alright, well, I decided to paint the frame on the CB550. So I stripped it all down, and I've cleaned it all up, scotch-brighted it. I just want to give it a quick once-over so it looks a little bit better. I mean, you can see there's silver paint, there's a silver overspray, it looks crappy. Some of the frame is seen when you have the bike all assembled, like this area, these things. Most of it is hidden by the seat and the gas tank and the side covers. Swing arm. And then all this little stuff, the engine mounts, kickstand, brake actuator, foot pegs, battery box, electrical box holder, brake actuator rod, brake stay rod, and I got something over here, which is the upper triple tree for the SO125. My sandblaster guy lost it, so I had to get another one off eBay, and that's just going to get painted. And the battery hold down, pretty rusty, but I wire wheeled it, so I'll paint the ends of it. Yeah. Alright, well, a lot of prep and spraying of black Rust-Oleum later. Not the best of paint jobs, but good enough to make it look a little nicer. Swing arm looks kind of crappy. Yuck. But anyway, good enough. So that's all painted. And the next step would be
put the swing arm back on, put the back wheel on, put the new shocks on so that it can go down and be stable, and then I'll put the engine in it. What do we got? 3:30, 3:40 on a Sunday, so it's not going to happen today. But what is going to happen is I'm cleaning up the head. I won't be using these little rocker covers. This is how you do the valve adjustment. You take this off, and that's the rocker. But I am cleaning this up, and I'm going to spray it with the same paint that I did the engine as. That's silver. So I've cleaned up with this red Scotch-Brite disc thing, and I'm going to wire wheel these exhaust studs. These are the intake studs, those are the exhaust studs, and hit it with, can after can of brake clean, and then spray it down. And what else has to get painted? So these manifolds have to get sprayed. These I'm going to polish, so those can sit to the side. And those things I'm going to polish. I think I'm good. Yes, there's a lot of cleanup left, but getting this part is a pain in the ass. I really wanted to get this done last weekend, but instead I went on an adventure to get more dirt bikes I don't need. So, VHT caliper paint, cast aluminum. Looks pretty good. Passable. Looks better than flaking off greasy crap. This is the oil filter cover. Goes on the front of the engine. So with that, it is Sunday at 5. I may need to have this ready by the end of the week. I highly doubt that I'd be able to do it, but I'm going to try. I could at least get the bike reassembled, get the engine in, and leave like the top end is kind of the last thing to do. But get the top end installed. It's going to take a while to polish those covers over there. But all in all, this is about 6 hours of work. Just the prep of the parts and the painting. Done for now.
Well, yes, thank you for watching the video, and I just got done with that work. It's actually past my bedtime at 7:30 p.m. And I have the stuff all over the shop, and I'm really going to try and get out here in the morning and after work and try to get this thing put back together by the end of the week. It's very difficult for me to do because I go to bed at like 8 p.m. I get done with work at 5. And I'm basically, when I'm done with work, I'm pretty beat because I get up at like 3 in the morning. Why do I do that? I get up at 3 in the morning because I go for a walk, a 3-mile walk, and then I go to the gym at like 5 in the morning. And this is all part of me doing that bodybuilding show. Yeah, so anyway, yeah. I'm gonna try to make it by the end of the week. Hopefully I will. If I don't, I don't. But I want to get this one back together and out of here. This is only the first of the 3 bikes that I said I wanted to sell. The next will probably be the XL600. And then there's a KZ1000 out of my shed. That'll be the one after that. But in 2 weeks I'm going to the Netherlands. So I want to get this one wrapped up before I go and have it drivable. Anyway, thank you for watching and talk to you later.